did you end up interested in theatre? I remember the one conversation that you and I had was you remember being in Grahamstown as a young kid. When did this all come full circle as theatre?
Sure. I think it always, with many people, it starts at school. And I think that my experiences as early as primary school were that I had some teachers around me who were really passionate and interested and keen and inspired me, I suppose, and sort of sparked a love in theatre for me and the magic of theatre. And I think that continued into high school. I was very lucky to go to Parktown Boys High School, where there was a great group of also passionate teachers who nurtured that. And then I returned back to Parktown Boys and directed musicals there and things, and it just continued to grow. And I really do think I've been very lucky to have been surrounded by people who have recognized perhaps something in me, but also nurtured and been very passionate about what they do.
Who are those people, though, who have contributed to the success that is Greg?
There are so many. I mean, I think at university there are many influences. People like Sarah Roberts, Fred Homann, and Malcolm Perky, people who taught me while I was at Wits. And there really have been very many, and I think it's been a path that, luckily enough, I found many friends and collaborators and partners along the way, and it's continued to grow. Once
you were inside and you had established yourself, how difficult or how easy was it to find Greg's voice?
I don't know if I've ever found Greg's voice entirely. I mean, I like to explore different work, and I jump around a little bit in terms of the kind of work I do. I love doing new South African plays. I love working with new playwrights on new South African plays. I've done some world drama. I've done some musicals. I've workshopped a few pieces, although not very many. So I like jumping around, and I think part of perhaps being a young creative is to continue to try and search for your voice and try and find your voice, and that's part of the fun, I suppose, and also a lot of hard work. I mean, it's not all fun. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and but I enjoy it, and I think that's the key, is that I've made a path in a passion of mine, and a love of mine, and it's become my work, and it's also become in many ways my life as well.
And 2009 you released a book called At This Stage, and I believe you're also working on 2 more books. Why is writing so close to your heart, though?
You know, I've had a close association with universities and higher education institutions for a number of years, for over 10 years. And that feeds directly into my creative work. And so I think that talking about other people's work, exploring other people's work, writing about sometimes my own work, it all feeds into the same pool of exploring this thing I love, which is theatre. So I've got 2 new books that I've just finished. They're in the process of going into print. The one we're hoping to launch at the National Arts Festival, and it focuses on South African theatre, and the other one will most probably launch later this year, which is the Methuen Drama Guide to Contemporary South African Drama, which focuses on playwright and playwriting over the last 20 years of South Africa's democracy.
Dead or alive, who's the one actor that you'd like to work with?
Sure. Now you throwing me a curveball. In South Africa or internationally? Anyone.
Anyone. Budget is not an issue.
You know, I'm going to cop out and say that the actor I want to work with is always the actor who I think is best for the project that we're busy working on, and it varies. So you know, depending on whatever play or project I'm busy working at the time, that's always the actor that, you know, the actor who I think will fit the role best and serve the piece best, and that I think I can work well with, and that I think will create some kind of energy and synergy.
What's your favorite theatre and your favorite space? I'm going to keep throwing these.
Sure. You know, there's some great small spaces emerging in Johannesburg, and I know Cape Town has some great spaces that are very independently run and that are nurturing young talent and young artists and are giving a platform to young talent. So I'm very inspired by what I'm seeing at places like Pop Art in Maboneng. There are a couple of really independent theatre makers who have created their own spaces, like they've done in Cape Town a number of years before, and I think Joburg is slowly following in its footsteps. I enjoy those spaces.
What are your proudest moments when you look at this journey, how far you've come? I mean, National Arts Festival was last year as well. You put up, you know, Oedipus at National Arts Festival. When you look back at this journey, what are you most proud of?
I'm particularly proud of the play that I did with playwright Ariel Dorfman, an international playwright. I was privileged enough to direct the world premiere of his new work called Delirium, and that was a very, very affirming production for me, because I thought working with an international playwright on a new work and him giving me some space to help develop the play, I really found that confidence building, and I think we often as South Africans undermine how much talent and how much ability and how much we have to offer beyond our own borders.
Who's the one guy in your family who you are credited with pushing you enough to follow your passion?
I always like to credit my grandmother, so not necessarily a guy, but I always like to credit my grandmother, who just she just did simple things like, you know, buy me crayons and creative things, and encouraged my creativity, and I suppose really supported me as a very young child, and made me feel good about simple things I did, you know, fooling around or performing or acting about, and her encouragement and her praise was something that I think really fed me as a young person, and I always carry that with me, I think.
All right, Greg, thank you so much for talking to us. He was a young creative today. As we continue to profile young creatives, he recently resigned from his position as the head of School of Live Performance at the award-winning AFTA. He is the 2014 SBYA for theatre, and the young creative we are celebrating today, Greg Homann, is a theatre actor, director and academic. Well, let's take an ad break. Stay with us.